watching this as well.
Right.
And he's out there actually covering this, and he's seeing it. So that is okay. Yeah, I'm getting more and more confirmation. Thank you, everyone, for jumping in. I appreciate that, absolutely. But still, the damage speaks for itself right there. As to what we're looking at here, you can see all those windows, every single one of them. Obviously, that's going to be directly in that shockwave from the blast and the explosion, torn up on lower 2nd Avenue right there. So the Nashville Historic Courthouse is going to be behind us right now. When we're looking at this video, I'm just trying to give you more perspective of what you're looking at. The RV where it was parked is going to be close to the center of the screen right here, and obviously there is nothing left of that vehicle. I'm sure at some point, Josh, we will see pictures of what that vehicle looked like and what drew the attention to these officers immediately being tipped off that this is not right. They backed off. They called in the proper authorities. I'm not sure if there's a bomb squad, ATF, who at that point was being called in. But then secondary, they go around and start clearing out some of these buildings, knowing that they were in harm's way and possibly inside the field of a blast. And it has to be, for an officer working that adrenaline and disbelief that this is actually occurring, and I'm talking about before the blast goes off, where they feel so alerted to the situation, so disturbed by what they're seeing with this RV that they need to evacuate this area. So the calls of the gunshots go out just before 6 o'clock. So this operation was probably, you have to give it a little lag time there, but this operation probably started right after 6 o'clock this morning. So for 30 minutes, they were in this field of danger, clearing people out and making sure that we did not have any type of mass casualty event occurring.
Yeah, and we do know at this point the latest update. We're hoping for another update before noon from Metro Nashville Fire Department. Obviously, we know Metro Police will speak at noon. As far as injuries go, surprisingly, there are only 3 minor injuries. That is according to the Nashville Fire Department, but that was the latest update we got about 8 o'clock this morning. So that was 3 hours ago. They have not tweeted out any additional information as far as injuries go, but 3 minor injuries as a result of this situation. You look at that damage, it is extensive damage, not just in the area of 2nd and Commerce, but as Neil has mentioned, we're talking about all over this area. You can see bricks that are just kind of strewn about there. You have damage to all the buildings, windows blown out. Mayor Cooper said he went through that area and the damage wasn't that extensive. What I'm looking at is something completely different. It looks like extensive damage.
Yeah, I'm reading some of these notes that I'm getting as you're kind of narrating over these pictures. On the left, that's the live picture. That's the staging of the Nashville Fire Department. On the right, that's that video sent in from the Nashville Fire Department. Right there, you wonder exactly what's happening down there as far as the investigation goes. I wish we had a better camera that could give you a look on the other side of this building right now, and perhaps we'll get one established a little bit just to see the nature of what they're doing down there and the type of activities that are going on as far as the investigation goes. The pictures, some of the pictures, someone pointed out to me that when we panned up on the side of 1st Avenue, those big arched windows, they actually looked like they were pulled inward by the blast. So that there was the shockwave actually came through the building that way and actually pulled them in at that point, which to me is well, if we have that video, and for folks just tuning in here wondering what in the world is going on in the city of Nashville, if we have that wide-angle video, the kind of one that looks black and white of that security camera showing the actual explosion, I want to show the skyline video again, if you guys don't mind, and we can get it. Watch what happens. Okay, so there's a light. Now watch by the 3rd light post. Something streams up in the air, and then this. Now, the perspective is off a little bit because, you know, obviously you're shooting over the top of the AT&T Tower. And I want to make something perfectly clear. The AT&T Tower, the Batman building, is not connected to this other, well, it's connected, and it's the same company. But the other building is the one down there on 2nd Avenue. It's this totally nondescript building. If you didn't know what it was, there's no sign on the door or anything that says what exactly it is down there. It's just this kind of plain Jane government type looking building, but it's actually a large AT&T center of operations for communications right there. So again, assume now this was no accident, and trying to think of the way investigators would think about this and go about their job. Why was a communications center at the center of this? When you have so many other truly Nashville things in this area, all right, you have Bridgestone, you have the courthouse, you have Lower Broadway, you have so many more distinct, you have the Parthenon, you have so many things that say Nashville more than a nondescript AT&T comm building in downtown Nashville. And that's where you choose to park an RV and detonate it at precisely 6:30 Christmas morning, Josh.
Did they know that's what it was? There's so many questions that we hopefully will get answers to, but did they know that's what it was? As you mentioned, a lot of people over there don't know that's what it is. It's a nondescript looking government building, and you don't know what this person was thinking or what was going through their mind at the time.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ashley, where were we going live? Okay, Valencia Wicker, on the ground for us, has been speaking with folks, and at this point, they're just kind of taking interviews from folks that have witnessed this and just observing, like we are, what's going on. And I'll let you take it away, Valencia. Go ahead.
Yeah, I tell you what, the same shock and awe that you describe in watching or seeing some of the damage from this explosion is exactly the kind of feeling that we're getting here downtown. As I mentioned before, we are just less than a block away from 2nd Avenue, and just down 2nd Avenue to our left is exactly where all that damage and where all of this happened. It's kind of the center point of everything. And as you can see, the police presence here has not gone down at all. In fact, we've seen more officers show up. Of course, as you've mentioned, we have Metro Police, we have Tennessee State Troopers. We did see the FBI just a few moments ago. We saw more officers with more dogs, which really gives that indication that they are still intentionally and intensively looking for something, someone's to, whatever we can kind of keep our eye on. Right here, you're seeing there are officers. We just saw breakfast being brought to them, which of course shows us that they have no indication that they're going anywhere anytime soon on this Christmas Day. But these officers have been coming here. They were just meeting a few seconds ago. It looks like they're being disseminated back out to the area down 2nd Avenue. We aren't exactly sure what they're going for, if they've gotten any new information, but I can tell you there are about 20 officers here maybe 60 seconds ago, and they are not here at this point. We do know that they're, as you can see in just a few moments, I don't know if you can see this, but this is Nashville Fire coming from my left with some sirens. There's another officer, or it looks to be an officer, in an undescribed car that's going down 2nd Avenue. Again, we do not know what they are responding to. We do not know if there's new information that they are going for, but I can tell you that there has been movement here. We were about 2 hours ago, we tried to go to the courthouse to kind of get a view from above exactly where the scene is. But of course, we could not do that because officers right away saw us and said, we need you to evacuate. That's when we first saw the first signs of those dogs sniffing around, trying to see exactly what was going on here. So, we will keep you updated as things kind of progress here, but I can tell you that this will be an all-day event. There's no indication that these officers have any plans on making it home for Christmas. There's lots of yellow tape up, lots of things that they are trying to unfold and investigate. So, of course, I'll keep you updated in just a few moments. Back to you.
Hey, Valencia, thanks. And I'm not sure who you're working with down there, but if you wouldn't mind just kind of giving us a wide view and kind of panning the camera around so people get an idea of what's happening at your location right there. I really appreciate that. You're close to the Metro Nashville Courthouse there. There's the historic hotel. So as you go to the right, that's going to be the courthouse, and the area of the blast is going to be down to the left of where Valencia was just reporting right there. And you can see that this whole area is obviously blocked off, and that perimeter, that's a good distance away from where the actual blast occurred, and you can see the movement that's happening down there. Appreciate that, Valencia. Thank you. And who you're working with, well done.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving us that. Coming up at the top of the hour, by the way, we're going to kind of give you a breakdown of exactly how all this played out if you are just tuning in for News 2 at 11. We have not gone off air. We will not be going off air anytime soon. We will keep streaming on air, online, everywhere we can. Facebook, Twitter, to keep you posted. But I do want to really quickly give you another look here at some of that damage that was left behind here. We're talking about not just those windows busted out, but as Neil mentioned, parts of the structure that are just gone as a result of that blast. It happened at 2nd and Commerce. Now we are entering, let's do some math here, about 4.5 hours since that blast happened at 2nd and Commerce, that RV that was intentionally exploded there in the middle of a busy area, busy road there. Obviously not as busy, though, because it was 6:30 on Christmas morning. But the damage is extensive. It reaches all the way up to the top of that building. And if you zoom around, you can see, you know, firefighters are working to spray water on the building. And there are still windows that are busted out there in that area. So much extensive damage as a result. We do have programming in our ear right now.
Yeah, I apologize if you're hearing that at home. Not sure if, okay. We just, one of our producers just came and told me that the 24 on the downtown loop 2 is also closed there. So just stay away from downtown Nashville right now. And these closings may be temporary, they may be longer term, and there may be additional closings that occur in the downtown area. Our boss is walking in right now, and we're gonna go ahead and get you some new information here.
Okay. That was actually a broken water line that we were showing earlier.
Yes.
It almost appeared that they were putting water on the building, but it is a broken water line.
No, and the mayor did point that out, that there, when he was talking about the infrastructure damage that we have in the downtown area, and you saw it in the Nashville Fire Department video, and then you're also seeing it on this is the live camera. If we go ahead and widen that out, and we can show you that that water line again, it's going to be on the left side of your screen as we come out. The blast, that's the AT&T building right there. Okay, that's going to be the center of the blast. And that's going to be right there where the water main is broken. You know, there are lots of fire hydrants down there, so possibly just got capped off. And that looks like it's actually coming from the top of a building.
I was going to say, that's part of a building.
That looks like a building water main that is busted right there.
All right, so for anyone just tuning in, we want to give you kind of an update of how all this played out. A lot of people just tuning in for News 2 at 11 and maybe don't know exactly how all of this started earlier on this morning. 4.5 hours ago here at 2nd and Commerce in downtown Nashville, when actually in reality around 6 o'clock or so about 30 minutes earlier, is when police got a report of shots fired in that general area of 2nd and Commerce. They went to that location and said that they didn't see evidence of shots actually being fired. That's according to police. However, they did find this RV that they considered to be suspicious. They have not told us why they considered it to be suspicious, just say that it was. So they went and tried to evacuate everyone from that area as this situation was kind of playing out there at 2nd and Commerce. Then at 6:30, it appears almost on the dot, that is when that explosion happened. Police saying that RV exploded, and now the Emergency Operations Center saying that it appeared not only was it intentional, it was an intentional bombing situation right there in the center of downtown Nashville. Nashville Fire did tell us that they had, as of 8 o'clock this morning, so we're talking 3 hours ago, there were 3 people transported from the scene of that explosion to Nashville hospitals. 2 of them went to Centennial, and 1 went to Vanderbilt University Medical Center. They had injuries that were not considered to be severe, so they are all expected to survive. Overall, their injuries are considered to be minor, but that is a look at the scene as the flames were still burning hours later in that area where the RV did explode. As we've shown you all throughout the morning, we can tell you that several buildings in that area have extensive damage, and that extensive damage goes for blocks away from the actual scene there at 2nd and Commerce in downtown Nashville. And we had the mayor tell us, he said this would have been a very different situation if this had happened on a Friday night that wasn't Christmas, when a lot of people were in that area at the time.
The reports of the gunshots beforehand, just before 6 o'clock, that the police were receiving, that's going to play a key role in this investigation as to why the gunshots were who was firing at who, if anyone, and what was the intent of those gunshots. Was it to draw first responders and emergency police officers down into that area, or was there something else that actually occurred in relation to this RV which drew all that attention initially?
And while witnesses were saying that some of them said they heard gunshots, police did say they got to the scene and found no evidence of gunfire. However, they noticed the RV, and that seemed to take their attention away from looking for, I would say, shots fired in that area. You see this suspicious vehicle, something tells you we need to clear this area out. That's going to be the focus of your investigation.
And what was it about that RV that was so suspicious? And if it's what we're hearing, it's odd. And obviously, it was something that a professional police officer immediately said, get out. Let's clear this area out. Let's go ahead and take a listen to this.
On 2nd Avenue, but we live on the interior of the building, and I almost couldn't believe that it would have been gunshots that I heard, because we don't live near either 2nd Avenue or 1st Avenue. We're in the middle of the building. So I was perplexed, but thought, maybe it was somebody slamming doors or something. But then about 10 minutes later, there was a whole nother round of guns fire, this time more gunfire and louder. And we got scared and got up out of bed and barricaded our door to our apartment. And then about 15 minutes later, again, there was a whole nother round of gunshots. This time, it was way, way more gunshots. The first time, it was 3 shots. The second time, it was 5 shots. The third round, it was probably about 10 or 15 shots. And we were petrified. We were sitting in our apartment with the door barricaded, with the lights out, not talking because we were scared to make noise. And then about 20 to 30 minutes later, the cops somehow had gotten into the building and started pounding on the doors, alerting all his residents to get out of the building and to leave on the back side, 1st Avenue, not to go near 2nd Avenue. And they didn't tell us what it was. Our car was parked over on the other side of the gulch, and we went over and got our car and was sitting in our car not knowing what to do. And at that point, we had been sitting in the car for about 10 minutes, and then our whole car shook, and it felt like a bomb went off, and we looked over towards 2nd Avenue from the gulch, and we saw flames and sparks, and you could see not only the smoke, but you could see the explosion sparks fly up into the air, probably 300 feet into the air. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, needless to say, terrifying.
Blockaded his front door to the apartment, because it wasn't just like it was a round of shots and it was done. It was a round, and then minutes go by, another round, and you're like, did we really just hear that? And then 15 minutes later, and another round again. And at that point, your mind is now thinking, and I'm thinking the shots are in the building. I don't know if they were or not. I don't know. But all I know is that at that moment, I thought that they were. And I was like, I'm going to have to fight my way, jump. I didn't know what I was going to do. Literally.
It's such a bit like Broadway, I mean, busy area typically. I mean, not necessarily at this time of day on Christmas, but I mean, this is a popular area in Nashville.
Yeah, well, what I was really concerned about was the fact that it is a really, really busy area, but also it was an hour that you shouldn't be hearing stuff like that. I mean, 5 o'clock a.m. is kind of what you would call kind of downtime. So I was really concerned. I still don't know what's going on. Don't know when I'm going to get back in my house. Merry Christmas.
Did you talk to any of your neighbors or see any of them coming out? What were they saying?
They were all coming out. Everybody was bewildered. Nobody knew what was going on. There's a hostel youth hotel right next to the building that we live in. And there was a woman that came out of that one that said the cops had said something about a bomb. She said that when we were still at the building. This was 30 minutes before that explosion. She came out and she said something about a bomb. The police had told her a bomb. Yeah. So evidently there was some sort of knowledge about that bomb because one of my neighbors mentioned it.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to us.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry this happened.
Hey, is that the first time this interview's aired?
We did not air that part of the interview earlier as we were waiting to confirm.
That is chilling. That firsthand account of what was going on 2nd Avenue, and this was not a bang bang event. Excuse the verbiage there, but this is something that was happening over a period of time where it sounded like he spoke of 3 different rounds of extensive gunfire going on minutes apart from one another as separate acts. And then at the end, perhaps the most stunning thing is that 30 minutes ahead of time, they knew it was a bomb. So it's going to be these witness accounts for us and also for investigators that kind of paint the picture of this chaos that unfolded then on 2nd Avenue well before 6 a.m. with the bomb going off precisely at 6:30 this morning. I don't know what there is to that. I don't know the significance of it. It could be just randomly that was the time chosen. Don't know, but it was, according to just about every Ring camera that we've seen that is GPS controlled as far as the time goes, it was so exactly 6:30 right there that would tell me that was going to be the triggering device's time set to make this thing go off.
And a lot of questions here. This happening now, we're entering almost 5 hours since this all went on. So we're expecting an update from Metro Police and the Nashville Fire Department possibly around noon. So in a little less than an hour, we'll bring that to you live on the air. But there are still a lot of questions, and it's not clear if they will be able to answer those questions for us. But again, that's coming up, scheduled in about 51 minutes. But
this is being covered nationally right now.
Oh, yeah.
This is right now. This is the focus of the world is on Nashville and what's unfolded here as everyone is trying to get answers to what has happened here. I believe we have Mayo, and she's been patiently standing by, and she's going to join us now with an update from the downtown area. Mayo.
Well, Neil and Josh, you've been talking about just the scale of this explosion. From what we're seeing, they have blocked off from Commerce Street all the way up to the courthouse. And you can see behind me at least 7 Nashville fire station trucks are out here on the scene. Now, at first, ATF, Metro Police, and fire crews were out here congregating here where you see the yellow caution tape right in front on the side of Hooters in front of just a Fizzle Rocket soda shop just in this parking lot here, but they have slowly moved further down. If you look just further past, you see a black awning. Now remember, we are on the back side of where the explosion originated from, and so you can see crews, Metro Police, Fire, ATF, they're all down there just walking up and down this area next to that black awning. It looks like they're just assessing the damage. Now, that just shows you've both been talking about just the sheer amount of force this explosion had to go from one side of the building all the way pushed through to the other side that you would think would be shielded from this explosion, but clearly it wasn't. A lot of debris and damage down there that we can see just from on top of this hill right alongside the river. Again, crews, Metro Police, fire stations, multiple fire crews out here walking up and down. We've even seen K9 units walking around this area with dogs just sniffing the area, trying to see what's going on, if there's any other possible device, anything that might happen again. Just seeing that sheer force. I mean, Hooters, if you take a look, windows completely shattered, broken out just across the street, the building here. Windows, again, shattered completely out. Part of the building and even damaged at the very top of it. Just showing you just how forceful this explosion was. Now, I know multiple people have been driving through here just trying to see the damage for themselves because it's still extremely shocking that this would happen on Christmas Day. I think it still hasn't settled in for some of us here just looking at it and the first responders here. Now, it's been a long morning and it seems like it's going to be even longer. A few moments ago, I saw someone bringing in food for first responders. Thankfully so, but it seems like they're going to be out here for much longer throughout the day, trying to assess damage, trying to figure out what happened, and get to the bottom of why this explosion happened here on Christmas Day. And you can see just multiple crews. It looks like they're all standing here across from that black awning, just looking at the damage, with a couple of people moving to the other side, walking up and down there, just trying to get a better picture of what have caused it, what damage is there. I know multiple people who drove by here are waiting to check on their businesses, check on their apartments, and see when at all, if at all, they can get back in those to see for themselves the damage that they need to clean up. But so far, police have said that that's not going to be anytime soon. FBI also out here on the scene, just trying to figure out what's going on and assessing more of this damage.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Again, it's going to be the Box 55 folks from the Nashville Fire Department down there helping these folks because they know it's going to be a long day and an unexpected day at this point. If you notice when she was giving her live update, there are cameras everywhere down there. You cannot walk in downtown Nashville and not be on camera at some point, especially at that particular corner. I have a feeling when this investigation unfolds, there's going to be something to do that. There was a reason they chose this area. I also clarify that I told you that the AT&T comm building is not identified. It is identified. All the doors, in fact, do have the identification of the building, so they would know that they have parked it in this particular location right there. These are some of the images from earlier. Again, they brought out the specially trained canines, which are assisting with the gathering of evidence there and the processing of this extremely massive scene right now.
Yeah, so you can see crews are still out there for sure. We expect that federal investigators will be out there for quite a while.
Sure.
You are urged to avoid the downtown area today and possibly for several days. We don't know at this point how long this investigation is going to go because we still have so many questions about exactly what happened. Metro Police, of course, saying their canines, the TBI's canines, they are all involved in this situation here and this active investigation taking part in downtown Nashville. This all, of course, starting at 2nd and Commerce there. That is when the explosion happened almost on the dot, as Neil said, at 6:30. When we had the Ring cameras that were up, almost all of them do show that one timestamp right at 6:30 when you hear that explosion and see the explosion in some of the video.
The Metro City Councilor for that area is Freddie O'Connell, and he was putting out some information earlier, and he's kind enough to join us live on the phone right now to discuss this situation. First of all, we're sorry this happened in your district. What do you know? What's the very latest information you have, Councilor?
Hey, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Yeah, so what a way to start Christmas, right? I mean, at that timestamp that you mentioned at 6:30, you know, we were hearing sort of the twin sound effects of our girls tumbling down the steps for what they thought was going to be Christmas morning, and then meanwhile my phone blowing up from information related to this incident. So the very latest I know from MNPD is that, yeah, I mean, right now we as a city are operating under the suspicion that this was an act of intentional violence. I have not yet heard anything about a motive. You know, we do know that the bomb blast radius reached as far up 2nd Avenue as Public Square and City Hall, right? I mean, so their emergency crews have pretty much closed off a very large crime scene. And I would just caution your viewers, this is not a time to go either, you know, try to go get a picture of something or even to try to look to help out. I will say our Office of OEM, right, the emergency management folks are very capable here and are making sure that everyone involved is appropriately evacuated, safe. In this moment, this is still a crime scene. It is still, you know, kind of it's the kind of scene that requires an emergency response. So I hope viewers will stay calm, keep their distance for now, check in by phone and messages and whatever with anybody they know that might have been in the area. But this is, you know, let's not all go rushing into this site right now.
You know this area obviously like the back of your hand. We've discussed the fact that there's the AT&T comm building right there across the street is the Hooters restaurant. What other businesses and buildings are there? And approximately, Counselor, how many people do you suppose live in this tight area of the downtown?
Yeah, so that's the interesting part, right? This is a historic district. This is a commercial district. It is sort of part of, I mean, honestly, when I was a teenager growing up in Nashville, I knew 2nd Avenue before I knew Broadway. It was where kind of the, you know, the first renaissance of that whole corridor before the honky tonks had become such a huge part of the entertainment district. 2nd Avenue was where people were going. But that's where you've got, you know, some of Nashville's kind of anchor versions of big restaurants like the Melting Pot and Old Spaghetti Factory. That's also where you do have some of the music from Lower Broadway sort of turns the corner there. You've got Butler's Run, which is also the home to the Civic Design Center. And then up above most of those buildings, you do have residences, right? And I'm still trying to get a handle on there. If we went by the number of units that are there are hundreds of people who live within that potential radius. And I'm trying to get a sense of, I've already heard of, at least one potential building collapse, or at least damage to the point where it appears that it might be a partial collapse at a minimum. And so on most of those upper floors of those buildings, though, those are residences, and some of them are several units per building. And so I know we already do have many displaced residents, most of them evacuated. And I think the biggest mercy of the morning so far for me has been I have not yet heard any reports of deaths or serious injuries as a result of this.
If we somehow get through this with just 3 non-life-threatening injuries, Counselor, that would be a miracle in itself. We're hearing, the mayor mentioned earlier, a tremendous amount of infrastructure damage. Are you hearing anything about gas leaks and water leaks? We see one water leak there, but are you hearing anything about the infrastructure?
Yeah, so I have heard that both water was actually asked to turn off service to some of the buildings. In fact, as a reason for protecting evidence, right? They did not want water potentially causing damage to things that might be in the crime scene that might offer, again, some more clues as to anything related to the criminal aspect of this. Similarly, I know NES was out there. You always do want to protect against the possibility of electrical fire. I mean, you've probably seen some of the same photos and footage that I've seen that, really show right where the vehicle was, roadway damage, right? And I have not yet heard about underground sort of infrastructure damage in the sense of, I don't know the extent of whether there has been damage to gas lines or water mains that would otherwise knock out service. I do know that the companies were kind of voluntarily turning off some of the utilities there just basically as an assistance measure. I don't know the extent of which that also is kind of an emergency piece of it.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the nature of that specific building? Again, we don't know if this was chosen for a reason or not. I don't want to get ahead of this, but the AT&T building there, do you know what that serves, what the purpose of it is?
Yeah, so I've actually been in touch with AT&T representatives this morning. That the big red building there right on 2nd Avenue was kind of an old switching center. It still does have phone and mobile related service in it. It is, for AT&T, that is basically an infrastructure building. Now, interestingly, it was designed to withstand a bomb blast. And so in some ways it kind of got stress tested today. Now, again, I have no information yet about motive or if there was a target or, kind of a purpose behind the incident. But the building right where the vehicle was parked is a part of AT&T's infrastructure. Have
you seen that video that we're showing, the wide view of the size of the explosion? What were your thoughts if you have seen that?
Yeah, I mean, again, I guess you can't not be in sort of a state of immediate shock when you see this. I mean, I've heard from people all over the city and even the region mentioning that they heard it, felt it, saw it. I've seen footage from out, I think it was Lebanon Pike or maybe Murfreesboro, looking toward downtown and seeing it. This is an extraordinary event. I mean, this does truly shock the senses to see it. We even in a year where we've already had a devastating tornado followed by windstorms, I don't think anybody was hoping to end the year with sort of another catastrophe, right? I mean, we are dealing with so much as a city right now, and it's almost incomprehensible that we would wake up on Christmas morning to such an event.
And I value every second of your time, Counselor. Is there any final message you want to pass along to the people of your district?
I guess the biggest thing I would say is message of extraordinary gratitude to our first responders who really are showing why this is a job that requires limitless courage, right? I mean, we're going into a blast scene. So first, a message of thanks to them. a message to everybody else to continue to do your best to stay safe, healthy, and calm. I, like many others, are eager to jump in and join the recovery effort, but for right now, this is still a crime scene. This is still something that is under investigation. We are still dealing with emergency response. So for now, I would just generally steer clear of the area, pay attention to Metro's official resources, news outlets like yours to get ongoing information about this, but do so from the safety and comfort of your homes.
All right, Metropolitan Nashville City Councilor Freddie O'Connell, I thank you for your time, and I know we will be talking to you soon. Stay safe.
All right.
Sure, thank you all. You too.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Metro Police actually just providing some more information. They have a news conference scheduled for a little more than half an hour from now, but they just put out their official release that, I mean, it doesn't really tell us anything more than we knew, but it does say Metro Police, FBI, and ATF investigating today's intentional 6:30 a.m. explosion of an RV outside 166 2nd Avenue North downtown. Of course, we know where that is. Vehicle and pedestrian traffic downtown restricted as that investigation continues. They do say officers responded to shots fired on 2nd Avenue at approximately 5:30, so we're talking an hour earlier. The department's hazardous devices unit was called to check the RV. As those officers were en route, the vehicle exploded outside of the AT&T transmission building. Multiple buildings on 2nd Avenue were damaged, some, as you're seeing in our video, extensively. They are asking anyone who has information, as they do in most of these cases, to give a call to Nashville Crime Stoppers. That number, of course, 615-74-CRIMES. That is the first official release that we have received from Metro Police this morning about this.
I was struck by Councilman O'Connell's comment that this AT&T building in particular, you'll notice when we show you the pictures, it has no windows. Mm-hmm. It is built to withstand a bomb blast. It is literally a structure meant to survive a bomb blast. And what they have to piece together is, was that RV put there for a reason? And if so, what is that reason right there? And I apologize if I seem to be harping on the fact that this is the AT&T building right there. But you heard the counselor also mention that it's not as useful as it used to be in its useful terms. And we'll wait to hear from AT&T, obviously, for their official response to what's going on. But obviously, Councilman O'Connell has spoken to AT&T. He mentioned that in the interview right there. Again, these are some videos from not too long after the blast. At this point, you can see that cars were still burning, and this debris field is focused really right there on Church Street by 2nd Avenue, going down toward Broadway, Lower Broadway right there. And we're working to verify other video here, but it sounds like there was almost like some sort of broadcast message going on on 2nd Avenue for folks that live down there. And the source and origin of that, whether it was an official broadcast of that or was nefarious in nature, is going to be something else that hopefully we can bring you here shortly as well. But again, we're only going with what we have as confirmed information, and we're only going with witness accounts of 3 separate rounds of what sounded like a chaotic amount of gunfire that happened minutes apart. We know that police officers arrived on the scene initially not because of a suspicious RV, but they arrived initially because of the reports of gunfire. Then they took note of this RV, which sounds like it was parked closer to the AT&T building than it was toward, say, the Hooters on the other side of the road there. And then they began clearing out. And if this was 15 years ago, no one lived down there. This is the change of Nashville, where now we have downtown living and lots of people. And all those buildings that line 2nd Avenue and 1st Avenue have been gutted basically from the first floor up and turned into residences. So all these buildings you see, they do house a lot of people. And if this started before 5 o'clock with 3 separate rounds of gunfire, police were able to evacuate all these buildings. And you heard that resident in that prolonged interview, that longer interview that we gave, say that they were told to get out, and they actually knew, and they were out at their car by the Gulch when the explosion went off. Man, just tells you there was a significant amount of time between the reports of gunfire and the actual explosion of that RV.
And as you mentioned, there was some type of warning type situation, but there are so many questions because was this a suspect of some kind warning that something was going to happen? Was this police warning people that they needed to leave? So many questions, and hopefully some of those will get answered in about 30 minutes here when Metro Police hold their next news conference. We don't know if they will give us the details, but...
Well, and just going with the facts that we do know, 6:30 precisely,
Right.
Christmas morning, downtown Nashville, when you could have chosen any other time of day, any other weekday, and done a maximum amount of damage to human life at that point. But instead, you pick one of the quieter mornings that we have in this city all year round. Elizabeth Lane has been reporting from where they of the news conference and updates from police, and she's going to join us now to kind of fill in the blanks where we've been since the last time we had a chance to speak with Elizabeth. Go ahead.
Hi, Neil. Yes, we do expect to hear from investigators, including the FBI, for the first time today at noon. Now, we're zoomed in here on this police unit just because earlier we saw what appeared to be some more investigators just a few minutes ago with their dog, their canine, as you know, who works as a fellow officer with them. And a little bit earlier this morning, investigators had mentioned that that is something they are doing. They're taking the canine units out. They are sort of going around downtown Nashville just to canvass the area, not because they have any reason to believe that there is the potential for another explosion, but just because, of course, in a situation like this, we would all hope that they would do their due diligence, and so that's what they do to keep everybody safe in this area. So they are canvassing the area. That's just one of the first times that we've actually seen them come by with a canine unit. Now, another thing is we were pushed back significantly a little bit, well, when the explosion first happened, we were up at 2nd Avenue North and Broadway. That was right after it happened, so there were a lot of unknowns, and we, over time, were pushed back up here. Now we're at 2nd Avenue and Korean Veterans Boulevard. This is partially for everybody's safety as this was developing, but right now it's also because it means investigators have found more evidence in the areas where the explosion happened. They found evidence in those surrounding blocks, and so they want to be able to do their job and do their due diligence with the investigation without that being interrupted. So that's why we're back up at this point. Again, still lots of unanswered questions. I know Josh and Neil, you've both touched on that. We definitely plan to ask police about their timeline here, and we are expecting to hear from them in just a few minutes coming up in the next half hour or less. Guys?
All right, Elizabeth, thank you so much. Yeah, we are 30 minutes away from the next press conference. These are some of the overhead images that we have of the shortly after the blast, as smoke is rising up from the exact spot where this RV was parked. If you're familiar with that particular corner, that's about the only spot on that corner where you could actually, if it was on the curb, that's about the only place you could actually access that as well. And I'm going to hold off on this first-person account until I get an okay from the person that sent it to me, Josh.
Okay.
But it's a little disturbing if in fact we get the okay to go ahead and go with this as a first-person account. But perhaps we'll try to get them on the phone for us this morning. And if you have any pictures and video, and you do send it into pix@wkrn.com or news@wkrn.com, or you post it to our social media, it would really help us if you gave us the direct source of the video. Meaning, did you shoot the video or not, and express permission if you did shoot the video that we can air it, because this is the situation right now where you are helping us to forward this story as much as we are helping you to advance the story as well. And you know, I have to say my compliments to the Metro Nashville Police Department and the Nashville Fire Department for being so forthcoming with the details that we have been able to share so far. The fact that this early in the investigation, and I know it's been, 5 hours, but the fact that this early in the investigation, and